Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Oh, stupid fucking things. Hold on.
More than meets the eye.
Are you the keymaster?
You can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man. No time to talk.
Oh, as if.
Hello, guys. Welcome to Lunch Hour. We're sitting around here, and Travis is kind of eating on schedule. I am fucking not. Neither is Richard. And we're basically, I don't. What the fuck are you eating? Animal fucking cracker. All right, whatever. Okay, so animal crackers. So we're eating animal crackers today. So Richard has how many? 4 ex-wives of Frankenstein, right?
Just two.
Oh, the 2 ex-wives of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And then Travis has Starlight. So let's do Travis's first because he doesn't have a ton of art for his and like whatever. So there we go. And here's the link to the Kickstarter right here, the Starlight Kickstarter. I just kid. It's a really cool Kickstarter. Just like it's a fun book to read. I've read the series so far, and it's right here. And actually, one of the characters, I think it's the girl, right? Her stuff looks like kind of Zamora's mask or something.
Yep. Yeah. Wow, Chrissy stepped right on a spoiler.
What? She just looks like no. I saw it. I said, "Oh, that's Zamora's mask." I think you did Starlight as part of it, or one of the star. This was before this newest one, so you can't give me shit about that. So, anyway, so the Kickstarter's going on, but talk about it, Travis, for a little bit.
I'll stop eating my crackers.
Oh, I should have gone to Richard. Richard is just sitting like,
I should have grabbed a drink too. I'm eating like the driest crackers there possibly I could have chosen.
Well,
Did you see the warning on the crackers, Travis? It says do not eat if seal is broken. So you got to check through all of them for that.
For a seal? Each cracker has a seal? I'm confused.
No, because one of them is a seal. Come on.
Oh, man.
Well, he blew a seal, but you would know that, huh, Richard?
It's just ice cream.
What the hell?
Just wear a penguin suit.
Everything's out of control again.
It turns out I'm actually a fever dream of Billy Madison all along.
There you go. So talk about your Kickstarter, Travis. And used to be a raver back in the day too.
Yeah, you can totally tell by the way I dressed today. I was all rave.
Like, okay.
I was in a meeting with a VP the other day, and she had seen the comic, and she's like, "Oh, why does she have a pacifier in her mouth?" And I was like, let me explain this to you.
Yeah, she ain't underage, okay? Just chill,
And she's like, "How do you know that?" I went, research for the book. Bye.
I used to rave back. I mean, nowadays we have this generation where we all did crazy shit. So if we judge, it's like nothing.
Oh yeah, it's not like our parents who apparently grew up innocent and perfect. Generation X kids and older millennials are all like, "Oh yeah, cool kid, I remember that."
I found out the opposite recently. My mother used to tell us these wonderful stories of weird sexual manipulation she'd done on different people over the years, and most famously the time that she thought she was going to get expelled from high school, so she seduced the headmaster's son and fucked him on the headmaster's desk so that when he walked in, she looked up and, as she described it many times, went, "You'd have to kick us both out." And I was visiting her earlier in the year, and she told me out of nowhere that she'd made all of it up, and she'd actually been very proper and good, and her she done a lot of stealing and breaking stuff, but all of her kind of cooler stories were completely fictional.
Well,
really disappointed.
She made up shit to impress you, I guess, which was kind of funny in its own way. My dad, actually, he didn't make up shit. I think it was actually shit that because, okay, my parents were kids during the Korean War. So you can imagine how fucked up everything was during Seoul. So I'll have conversations with my dad. Like, we'll be sitting down and he all of a sudden started giggling. And I just said, "Why are you giggling, Dad?" And he said, "Oh, I used to dodge bullets on my way to class." I'm like, wow, okay, Dad. Like, he gets really like, he'll just start like, he just has this fucked up sense of humor. But that's what let me put Travis on here. It's yeah. So it's like it fucked up. Hold on. I'm getting tired of these fucking things sometimes. I swear to God. Oh, by the way, out of a weird sense of oh God Christ. Okay. This is okay. There we go. That's better. So what ended up happening is that my you're trying to scratch down. Let me take this godforsaken shit.
No, look, this is very comfortable. I'm actually right between them. If you put them back, I'm right between them now.
Okay,
It's sort of
there
perfect.
you go. So what ended up happening was that so my dad would just tell me stuff like he said, "Oh yeah, I fell off the waterfall and I broke my leg. So they tied this iron bar around my leg and stuff, and my leg got all shriveled up." Do that, and I just was like, "Okay, Dad." So like trauma is like apparently my family's mode of amusement, I guess. My mother, not so much. She would talk about how like they left her grandpa in the fucking house when it was getting bombed. And she's like, and then she trailed off and I was a kid and I said, "So what happened?" And then she looked at me and said, "Don't you talk about those things." And I'm like, "You're the one that brought it up." I know. It's like, oof. It's like stuff that's not funny, but they kind of made it funny, but it was kind of unintentionally funny, but not all the time.
I remember my grandpa was in World War II, the sequel to World War One, and they
World War III next.
Yeah. Honestly, really pessimistic to have called it World War One, right?
Yeah.
He was in World War II, and he was captured, and he escaped, and there's like all kinds of stuff went on, and we were always kind of told these like heroic big stories, but he was a really nice old man, and my grandmother used to always, whenever we would like do anything wrong, she would like say that she's going to like tell our grandfather, and he's going to like beat us. And he never ever did. But it was always this threat, specifically that he would go and like cut some bamboo and beat us with the bamboo. Very specific. And the bamboo was kept there as kind of a threat. But he never did. And like one day when I was like maybe 12 or 13, and my grandmother was saying this to my younger sister, and my grandfather just looked at me and he said, "I would never hit children. I've had to sweep up too many of their bodies." And then he just like pretended to be asleep for an hour so people would leave him alone. I was like, "Oh shit. That got fucking dark."
Hey, Quentin. Quentin's one of our friends. He goes on here too. So this is Richard Fairgray. He does the
Hello.
Ex-Wives of Frankenstein. And then there's Travis Webb over here, which does Starlight. And we're like just chatting and shooting the shit right now because apparently drawing right now. But yeah, so that's crazy. Like that's like a very dark but very pat way of saying, do not fucking ever use me as a threat ever again to spank.
Yeah. But he whispered it just to me. Like he was going to let her keep doing it. He'd obviously never told her that it bothered him, but he just like had to voice it this one time.
That's deep. Poor fellow.
Yeah. Sorry, it's lunchtime. Let's be bright and fun.
No, it's okay. I mean, this is us, right? Because like I think I wrote down like, we might draw a bunch of awful shit and we'll just start being assholes or something like that. So that's fine.
Yeah.
So so I put in Starlight in the thing, and I guess I'll just go since we're talking on you. We have also the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein issue 1. It's done by Richard Fairgray, and let's see, do I have the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein? Because my brain has not been working. Richard and I, we were talking about how we have been sloggy and weird about fucking everything. So I took this off. So let me take this off. And so tell us about it, Richard. I mean, the title itself seems to explain it, but do get more into it.
It is a modern day story about Elizabeth Frankenstein and the bride. On the day 3 years after the monster and Victor have rampaged through the city and disappeared into the Arctic together, they are now, it turns out, alive and have been living as a gay couple in the Arctic for 3 years and are now returning as heroes of the MRA movement and Reddit. So it's about the bride and Elizabeth kind of really not liking each other very much, but knowing that no one else will understand what they're going to, and kind of having to force themselves to spend the day together.
Wow. That's kind of cool. So Elizabeth is the...
It's Victor Frankenstein's wife / adopted sister.
And then the bride is...
The bride of Frankenstein, the woman who was created to be a bride for the monster.
So it's like the 50s movie, based off the 50s.
The 30s. She's in the original novel. The bride, like the monster, asks for a bride, and Victor makes one. And then before he brings it to life, he realizes he can't risk the idea of them being able to actually both exist and possibly breed. So he burns the body, and the monster sees this, and that's kind of what spurs on all of the kind of carnage at the end of the story. But in the movie, she's not in the first movie, and then they do a sequel, The Bride of Frankenstein, where the entire film is about Victor and the monster and all the bits from the book that aren't really there, and then they bring the bride to life. She screams a lot for 2 or 3 minutes because she is brand new to the world and confronted with the fact that she is a gift for a monster, and then they both get blown up. The end. So I wanted to sort of take that character and say, what if we like gave her a fucking storyline and a personality, and didn't just assume that because she was screaming the first minute we saw her that she was also monstrous.
Well, she was prettier. She had less scarring.
Sorry?
She had less scarring.
Well, and mine has a lot more. I really lean into the scars in my one. She's stitched together a bunch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would kind of make sense given like what the 19th century, 18th century the day and stuff. Like, fuck all the fact about nerves and shit and like microsurgeries and stuff you would have to do to actually cobble together like a person that could operate at a certain level. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So that's pretty fun. And so Travis, you did tell us about your book, but only about a VP that said, why does she have a pacifier in her mouth about one of your characters? So, like, give it an overview, god damn it.
Okay. Sorry. I got really interested in your Korean war stories, and I was just like, I don't have any Korean war stories.
Well, my parents lived through it as a kid. I mean, I don't think that's a great thing for them.
I didn't live through any cool wars. No, I mean, just dumb ones.
I live in a war-torn country. What the fuck?
It's a jelly right now. All we did is walk through the snow sometimes and ride big wheels.
His grandpa, like, fought in World War II. It's not that Richard fought in anything, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
childhood was fairly normal, it sounds like.
And Travis, like, I know you. You've had a life. You've done some shit. You've had some shit happen to you.
Yeah.
You were my little dirtbag soul twin out there in the world. Like,
yeah.
Is it? I can never remember. Is it you who I know who's also been stabbed twice?
No, I haven't been stabbed yet.
Right, but you did steal a boat, or you just lived on a boat? I stole a boat.
I lived on a boat and I stole a submarine.
Stole a submarine, thank you.
How the fuck did you steal a submarine?
Well,
God,
here,
$200.
Anyways, I threw a rave on a submarine after I stole it. It was fun.
How did you do that without overheating or anything?
Well, okay. So when you say it, it sounds really cool, like, rave on a submarine. And it sounded really cool to us too. But the truth is it was a submarine museum that was in Seattle temporarily. And the person who managed the museum came in to buy a cell phone. She talked to the person. The cell phone person was a DJ who really wanted his chance to play for me. So he calls me up and says, hey, man, I got an idea for the party. What if we threw a rave on a submarine? And I was like, well, that sounds awesome, but it sounds kind of like you're, full of shit. He said, no, the chick's right here. Well, let me talk to her. So I offered to pay the janitor a case of beer to let us in and give her $200 to keep her mouth shut. And I sent out invites very quietly. And we put sound systems from both the torpedo tubes on each end of the submarine. And we threw a rave on a submarine, which, by the way, is a terrible idea. I don't know if you guys know this, but a submarine is a large metal tube.
Yeah.
And sound does not like large metal tubes. And so pretty much it sucked. Oh, no. It was more like...
Oh, it was like rattling and nasty and shit.
No matter what you did. There was no ooh, 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 ooh. Actually, there was, because it was a submarine. They did these tours. It had a switch to turn on what are called Sherwin-Williams earthquakes, which are like not the best sounding bass bends, but they're very popular because they have a lot of forward momentum behind their bass sound. So you can feel them. They make things vibrate because of their design. And they had put them up underneath the flooring of the top floor of the submarine, aimed upwards, and it would pipe the sound of the diesel engines firing up. And so when you were on tour, they would say, this is what it would sound like if you were on a submarine. It would start it up. And they'd flip a switch, and the whole submarine does the whole submarine noises, right? So all these people are getting wasted on the submarine. And I'm like, I start going through the submarine going, all right, lock it down. We're taking her out. And I went and flipped the switch, and everybody's like, what the fuck's going on? Because the whole submarine's like, so. Anyways, book. I should talk about the book.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's raving in the book, so we did kind of touch on that.
And it was invented. Actually, we're at the anniversary this week of the invention of Starlight.
Oh wow!
Because
so
it's Burning
volume
Man.
6, right? Volume 6. It's volume 6, right?
It's volume 6. But when Brett and I went to Burning Man together, is when we thought of doing it. I don't know why Burning Man had a role in this, but
well, ravers and drugs and intense dehydration, and you need to have water.
Yeah, we were watching the sun come up after being up all night for some reason and coming up with these crazy ideas about transdimensional spider wizards and space pirate cats. All right, so
I swear it was not drugs. We were only on crystal meth. That's what one guy said. There was a story. Okay, so what happened? Okay, not to segue or break into the other story. So one of my friends, he's a lifelong guy in the Valley, right? In LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes on and he says, like, oh yeah, just to let you know, like he was just this crazy surfer dude that would just come in here, but he was all drugged out. So he'd go into this pet store all the time and do shit like stick his hand in the emperor scorpions and make them sting him. And he said, and they go like, what the fuck are you doing? He said, oh, I'm building up an immunity, something crazy like that. So there was this one time he talked about how there's this UFOs, right? Oh, fucking there's UFOs and they zoom around and all this. And then the parting shot was, but I swear it was not drugs. We were only on crystal meth. Like,
totally makes sense. Totally.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's not drugs. Totally. That's not going to make you hallucinate or see weird, stupid things and change your perspective on everything. Sure, no. It won't change your reality. It's kind of like at LSD. I just do that, and I just sit down, and it's like, hey, I could just totally like not talk to the Green Goblin. He really exists. But anyway, so that was the thing about it. So anyway, go on, Travis. So Starlight is
2 kid superheroes grow up to be teenagers. When they become teenagers, they don't get to be superheroes anymore and have to go back to living normal lives. So they're going to high school. They're dealing with the trauma of being kid superheroes and not being able to tell anyone when they are kidnapped by transdimensional spider wizards and space pirate cats and have to figure out how to be superheroes again.
So are the cats, are they black?
No, they're kind of this weird orangey colored card. I'm really into like, was that what I call tabbies and stuff?
Oh, so, like the dumb fuck that I have, like, spam, my
spam
ramen noodle fuck. I call him my ramen noodle fuck. He's really stupid.
Oh, well, these ones are okay.
Like,
they have guns.
Is it something with cats where like the color is defined by the gender or something?
Well, okay, so with kind of like
Mostly.
There's some that are like gingers. Like if you have gingers with no white, most of the time they're guys, but it's not always. Like there's female complete gingers that are kind of common enough, but more or less you're going to find a boy if they're completely ginger. It tends to be a little bit more, but it's not exclusively. Now, what colorings are more exclusively towards females are calicos and tortoiseshells, because the color combination, the alleles will actually, that actual combination of alleles will actually make them that color. Oh, you got some comments. Oh, hi, Prismatics. How are you? He's Norwegian and he sounds very disdainful. So Norwegians always sound disdainful, but it's very funny because he has a cat named Felix. And so I said, I bet, and it's a big black Maine Coon cat, he was telling me. And I said, I bet you that cat looks as disdainful as you. Like Maine Coon cats, they're like these big furry fuck things that look like lynxes, and they're like,
They're cats the size of dogs.
yeah, they're really huge. Like they can grow really big, and they're furry as fuck. But yeah, so those are the basically the three genders that are sexes that are determined by coloring or whatever. But it's like you can have a calico boy, but it's very, very, very rare.
Rare.
1 out of 100. It's extremely rare. It's like,
But also, Calico Boy sounds like such a, I don't know, like a scene kid name, doesn't it? Like, oh yeah, that's our friend Calico Boy. We buy, well, we buy fentanyl from him now, but he used to be good.
Or, you know,
it
on
sounds
that same
like
line.
Velvet Underground type fucking memes or some shit.
Well, I was just thinking, didn't Amanda Palmer make a song like that, Calico Boy?
It sounds like something she would do.
Right?
Under her name or the Dresden Dolls?
Oh,
I'm gonna say-
they're back. I'm so fucking excited for this. They are recording a new album.
Oh wow, they never really broke up. They're like kind of an on and off band, right?
No, they've toured a couple of times, but like they've been broken up since 2008.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
Yeah. The Violent Femmes are going to be playing in Los Angeles again. I saw them in college, and I'm like, God damn, I want to see them.
And because is Brian the drummer for them now as well?
I don't know, actually. I haven't really kept up, but I know there was Gordon Gano. He was the lead singer. And I think it's not Brian Warner. That's Marilyn Manson's
Real name, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because he has such a lame name like Marilyn Manson, and it's like Brian Warner. Like,
But also, Marilyn Manson is also a pretty lame name when you stop and think about it. I mean, not to do the 30 Rock Wesley Snipes joke, but like, you know, I could have very easily gone to school with someone named Marilyn Manson and never thought about it. It's mostly the font choice and top hat that made him edgy.
Well,
but no, I think Brian Viglione from the Dresden Dolls, I think he was or is the drummer for the Violent Femmes as well now.
they might have changed drummers or something. But yeah, there's that. So, but yeah.
When are they playing? Because I'm moving to LA tomorrow, so.
Let's see. I don't know actually. I think they're kind of doing it. I haven't bought concert tickets because lately, if I bought concert tickets, it says, "Hey, fuck you! You have a convention that day." I'm like,
Yeah.
let me actually look.
Damn.
Hey, Prismatics, I put on a link, so you better join us and stuff.
By the way, are you all going to be at LACon this week?
Long Beach?
Or
Long
Long
Beach?
Beach? Sorry. Mixed up.
I will be on the Saturday.
I may be like due to a panel. We're trying to figure out the day of the panel, and like, fuck, because I need a moderator for this art thing.
So much drama in the LBC.
Tell me about it. The Novo tickets, concert tickets. Let's see, Violent Femmes. It looks like November 16th.
Oh, damn it. I'm in London then.
Yes, it's like.
You'll be in London?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be in London.
I have, for the next, until Christmas, I'm not in the same place for more than 13 days.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's going to be a fun last part of the year. It's like, I've got a week in LA, 5 days in Baltimore, a day in LA, a day in Vancouver, 4 days in Edmonton, a day in Vancouver, back to LA for 13 days, to New York for 9, to LA for 2, to Vancouver for 7, to LA for 6, and then London, then Harrogate, then Paris, then back to London, then back to LA. It's fucking.
You're all over the place.
Yep. I will not get used to a bed for a while. That's what I'm realizing.
Damn. That leads to a lot of jet lags.
Yeah, I'm good. Like, I only sleep a few hours a day when I travel and when I work and what have you. So like, I'm pretty good with the jet lag part of it. And you know, Ritalin is my best friend. But it's more just the, like, I'm very frustrated because I'm working on a book that is the most time consuming art I've ever done. And I'm now like, I'm almost finished page 9 after working on it for over a month, which is insane for me. I'm normally like a 60 page a month kind of guy. And so now I'm having to look at it being like, and I'm not going to get to even finish the first issue this year because there's very few times when I will be in a place where I can actually work on it.
Yeah.
I can't take my setup with me, you know?
Yeah, like, fuck. Yeah. I know I get you on that. That's got to be tough, too, right there. But yeah,
I'll start scratching my skin off soon.
well, just like this, like damn, 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 damn.
Oh, that beep. That beep. It's
Oh,
Egg
yeah.
Lady.
Oh yeah, because her ass is so huge. It's like it's just this dump truck moving back.
But
Yeah, am I?
oh, I was trying to figure out what you guys were talking about. Sorry.
No, it's just if you can hear it. If you hear this beeping, there's periodically like a garbage truck that comes by and does pickups and stuff. Around my house, around my neighborhood. And then every time it beeps, like, okay, so we knew this person named Egg Lady. I think Richard's had some unfortunate like business to see some pictures of her. Unfortunately, he's like, like that. It's just a look on his face. It's like he tried to still look pleasant, but he still looks so disgusted.
It's been 3.5 years since you told me about Egg Lady, and it's like it's never kind of left my mind. Like there's not a week that goes by where I don't suddenly go, "Oh, that's right. I live in the same world as Egg Lady."
And you're like, oh, God. You were like, it's like I couldn't tell if you were upset or disgusted or both, or you were just like,
It's like it's one of these things where when I first heard about it, I was like, "This is hilarious! What a delight! What an awful thing to exist, but how fun it is!" And now, like as I'm weighed down by the realization that there isn't a thing to look forward to in the world. It's just going to gradually get harder. Now the existence of Egg Lady is like that's just one more little piece of my reality that's been stripped away by unpleasantness.
yeah. So it's like basically, it's like I run marathons, but I come in dead last. But I have to make everybody wait 8 hours until I finish. And it's as I said, it's like somebody that is so crazily in denial about what they do. Is like literally this person says that they work out, they do all these things, and their body looks like a fucking potato.
Which is how she got the name Egg Lady.
Yeah. Well, also it's from a friend of mine because she would say mean little things like "Don't put all your eggs in one basket," and my friend said, "Oh, Egg Lady." So the name stuck, like we called her Egg Lady, and eventually she actually grew to the shape of an egg. I've noticed that like every time I draw a character, every time I draw something, or I draw a caricature of somebody or something, I notice that even though it's a character, like if it's something like even a goldfish or something or a horse or whatever, they eventually start getting those characteristics in real life. It starts morphing into that character. I'm like that. So with Egg Lady, even though she didn't quite look like that, when I started drawing the character Egg Lady, that person that inspired Egg Lady became that.
Christy, I need you to draw me thin and debonair and rich. Thank you.
You're already skinny. Your pancreas sucks. You're already skinny. Your pancreas fucking sucks.
Oh man, my pancreas.
Yeah, it's just this like little bubbly organ, and it causes so much misery. Like, let me go fuck your life up.
The worst is you never know when it's gonna hit. You're like, oh, this is probably safe to eat, and then like an hour later, you're like, God, why did I eat that food?
Yeah. So, guys, if you don't know, Travis has pancreatitis. Please tell the horrible, gory story about your health problems if you want to.
Oh, I mean, I turned yellow like Homer Simpson, and that was cool. Like I didn't know my eyeballs and my face could be the same color. Yellow.
Didn't they bulge?
Yeah. So I got misdiagnosed. I was having these like terrible pains in my stomach. And they got worse and worse. They got so bad where I couldn't function. I could just like curl up in a ball and hold myself and cry and scream in pain sometimes because they'd come in waves, like really strong waves. And they kept getting worse to the point where my body would dry heave even though I hadn't eaten anything. And so for 8 months, the doctor.
Region. Sorry.
Say again.
Say hi to Prismatics. We're hearing about pancreatitis today. Prismatics also works in the healthcare industry.
Oh. So.
Hail Prismatics.
So I kept going to the ER, and all they would do is give me Dilaudid and let me sit there for 6 hours while they just kept me high on an oxygen mask. And then they'd send me home and be like, we can't find anything wrong with you. And so I kept going to all these doctors, and they kept canceling or not coming through. And I finally went to like the top, was it gastro whatever guy. He's like, oh, you have gastroparesis. And he's like, we're just going to cut foods out. So we got to the point where he cut out all food but broth and water. and I don't think he understood how much pain there was. And I went to an ER when I was at my office in Sunnyvale, and they're like, "Man, been in this business 20 years. I've never seen anybody in that much pain from gastroparesis. Can we do a CAT scan?" And I said, "They've already done a bunch of CAT scans. They didn't find anything." And she goes, "Can I do an ultrasound?" I'm like, "You can do whatever you want, you know." And she goes back, she goes, "You have really bad gallstones, like really extreme gallstones. You need to talk to your doctor immediately. In fact, if you'd like, we can start scheduling you for surgery here." And it's like, "No, I got to get back to Vegas. Let me talk to my doctor." So I go back. I see the doctor again. He's like, "No, you don't have gallstones. I saw the report." He's like, "Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to feel better, I'll schedule a surgeon to look at you. But you have gastroparesis. We just need to keep cutting stuff out of your diet." And I'm like, "Buddy, we're at water. Like, I drink water and I get sick." And so that was over. I went in again and to an ER again. It just got so bad. It went on for 2.5 days. The pain did. I couldn't go to work. I just curled up and cried and screamed for like 2 days. Felt like I was going to die. I go to the ER, and the ER is like, I'm like, "Can you do another ultrasound?" And the doctor goes, "We're not going to find anything." I'm like, "Please, just do another. It's my money, right? Do another ultrasound." So he does another ultrasound, and he comes back. He goes, "I'm really sorry. You have really bad gallstones. I don't know why the CAT scan's not catching this, but it's pretty extreme. You need to get surgery." Well, I'm like, "Well, I'm scheduled to see my doctor in a couple of days." He goes, "All right, so we'll just give you more pain medicine." I went home. I woke up the next morning. I went to go to the bathroom, and molasses came out of me, like something so thick and so painful. I was screaming and hitting the wall, and it would hit the water, and it would just sink to the bottom, all in one solid stream.
Damn.
And just sit down there. And I was screaming, and I was like, so I thought about going to the ER, but I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm just dehydrated because I haven't been drinking enough water because my diet's so messed up. So I drink a bunch of water, and then that night I'm taking a video call with my mother, and she goes, "You're really yellow." And I'm like, "It's just the computer and the tungsten lighting at the house and stuff." She goes, No, you're really yellow. You need to go look." I look in the mirror, and I am like Homer Simpson yellow, eyeballs and everything. I look like that character from Sin City. I didn't even know humans could turn these colors.
Yeah. Damn.
Hold on. Did you have jaundice?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a serious issue.
Yeah.
That's a
so I
legal
went
problem.
upstairs, I had other people at the house. I'm like, "How come no one noticed I was yellow?" And they're like, "Oh, you know," because they didn't want to say anything because I've been dying for months and looked miserable for months. So they were just like kind of used to it.
I've been dying for months.
So I'm like, "Well, do we go to the doctor?" And we're all like, we had a like hour-long argument because they didn't want to pay to go to the doctor. But we go to the hospital, and they're like, "You got to go in right now. You're coming in." So I go in. I have jaundice, and my gallbladder's leaking bile into my body quickly. And
so that's why you, like, when you took a dump, it was like,
no, that wasn't the dump. That was pee that did that.
oh shit.
Oh, that's way more normal.
Damn.
It was so bad. It was, to this day, it's the most painful. Well, actually, the thing they had to do to reopen that was more painful. But anyways, so they go and they say, "Well, we're going to do exploratory surgery in the morning. We're just going to go in there. We're going to look. But if there's an emergency, we might have to do something. But for now, we're just going to put a scope up there, get an idea of what's going on, and then schedule surgery after that." So I go get that done. It's supposed to be like a 40-minute thing. I'm in there for 4 hours. I get out. I feel great. I'm like, "This is the best day ever. This is the first time I felt good in a while." And they're like, "Yeah, that's probably because we gave you some stuff." But when we got in there, we found some crystal that was stuck and backing everything up. So we had to remove it as an emergency right then and there. I'm like, "All right, so we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to remove your gallbladder, and we're going to put some stents in to put you back together." I'm like, "Sounds great. Sweet. This is great." So that night, I'm waiting around 10. My stomach starts to hurt, like really bad, like the worst it's ever been, right? And it gets worse and worse. By the time about 7 a.m., I was screaming for the nurse, and they wouldn't give me any more pain medication or anything. And they're like, "Because you're going to have surgery. It's going to be over when you have surgery." So I get down to the surgery area to get prepped for surgery, and the surgeon comes in and goes, "What the?" and starts screaming at everybody. She's like, "This is extreme pancreatitis. We can't do surgery on him. He'll die. Get him out of here."
Mm-hmm.
She starts screaming. She's like, "I can't believe you guys brought him down here. You haven't done anything." So I go back up. I'm crying, screaming. Next thing I know, they're putting a PDA in me, a slow drip.
Oh yeah. I think I know it. It's like kind of like a weird IV or something.
Yeah, and a button, and then they have like two
Yeah, you have to do
IV
a button.
machines going on me at one point. Just with so many tubes going in, it was crazy. They had to like keep recalibrating because they had so much stuff going into me. And I was there for like a month.
Operate on you when you have pancreatitis. You'd think that they would be able to.
It's too risky, they said. And because if they irritate it anymore, the pancreas stops. They said you just die. There's not a lot they can do. Pancreas is apparently really stupid delicate, and it already damaged it pretty bad. So when they removed that stone, apparently they had gotten some of the acid they used to break stuff down onto the pancreas, which was already inflamed. And so so they had to wait for it to calm down. So I spent the next 2 weeks on all these machines, drugged out of my mind. Even of all the drugs, it was still the most painful thing I can imagine. Like, as high as they got me, it was still almost unbearable. And they talked about getting permission to put me in hospice at one point so they could administer greater amounts of pain medication. But the race was to wait out the pancreas and hope the gallbladder didn't, go further and kill me, or the pancreas didn't kill me. So if one or the other killed me, and they were just kind of waiting it out to see what would happen. Finally, they felt comfortable enough that the pancreas had calmed enough to just go in and do the surgery. So they went in, they removed the gallbladder. I got out. Immediately was back in 3 days later with an infection for 2 more weeks because all the bile and stuff in my system started giving an infection through my whole body. So went back in, got out, was out for like a week, got called back in again because I started vomiting violently because I started leaking more. I had still more bile all over me, more infections. So I got infection again. Got out, and I've been out since, and now I just have pancreatitis from it all, and no gallbladder.
It's kind of like it's all you have right now, and you're like, yeah.
Oh, and I have a stent that's malfunctioning right now. So Saturday, instead of being at Long Beach, I'll be getting the stent removed.
This is a stent for your
liver. I don't know why the stent's there. Maybe prismatics. You work in the medical field. Do you know why they would put a stent in my liver?
Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm a physiotherapist, but judging from what you just told me, your health condition was a very severe critical state. I mean, hold on. If you just waited and you didn't react the way it did, it could actually be fatal even. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's
that's me.
I mean, I find it interesting that, oh God, I'm glad your mother actually saw you and said, you look very yellow, like a Simpsons character. Because it could be very, very, very critical.
Well,
I mean, you might not be sitting here talking to us. I mean,
I can believe that.
Can we run a poll to see which Simpsons character people think Travis would have looked like?
What?
Because like he said, Homer Simpson, but Homer Simpson is bald and has a different sort of aesthetic.
Well, I think he would have had to have jaundice and hyperthyroidism, like to make his eyes bulgy.
Yeah. So but we know he's a Simpsons character, but like I'm leaning like it's somewhere between Moe and Gil. Is my guess.
Then there's not Burns. What was that? Moe
Smithers.
No, not Smithers. Well, he could look like Smithers, but he'd have to have a douche haircut.
Yeah,
I mean,
really douche haircut.
Nedley.
You mean Ned, or do they say Nedley over there?
Ned, I think it's Ned.
Ned Flanders.
He kind of got the haircut of Apu.
Ned Flanders.
Isn't that the guy?
Yeah, I don't think that Travis could pull off the Apu look.
No, but he's got the haircut.
Ned Flanders.
The Apu look. The one not yellow character.
Hey, I am Asian. I can say this shit.
Yes, but you also basic colors.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I mean, it's weird because so when I did this, will segue into something weird. So when I did Asian Invasion, if you guys don't know, Asian Invasion was a thing that I did after COVID because I was annoyed at fucking the cons closing everywhere. So I got all the Asian creators that I could in LA, not all of them obviously, but just a good amount. And then I had him at the comic book, and the guy is ethnically Japanese, so nobody's going to give him shit when I do Asian Invasion, right? So we did it. So they're all Asian creators, and then somebody knows of this, and they know the other people, and they're like, they beg me, please do it in NorCal, do it in NorCal, do it in NorCal. I'm like, okay. So as we're planning this in NorCal, it has to go through a completely different thing where, it has to go through another building, grants and grant writing. It was like a whole load of bureaucracy. Like there were Philip Jin is the lead up there. And I was sitting here and I said, is it just me or we turned this in 5 different times? And he said, no, you're right. But like when I went up there, it was another level of weird because they said, well, Asian invasion, yellow peril, we're not sure of that because, Filipinos go and identify as brown. And I never heard of this shit before. And I've had people that were Filipino in my show, in the LA one. And then they're like, do you realize that, like also like some Asians, like if they're AAPI, like the Pacific Islanders, would you include them? And, like Indian and Pakistani, would you include them? I'm like, I never really thought this deep into this, you guys. It's just for all Asian people, like whatever. I said, well, I don't know. And then it's like, well, and also you have these hashtags. Do you think these hashtags, what if they're like, Filipinos consider themselves brown? Like, are you just linked to these hashtags? And I said, well, I one of the guys is gay and he considers himself queer and he was Filipino and he put up or whatever other hashtags that applied to him. So it's just a structure you can add on to it. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, and they call LA people anal. It's like it was in NorCal and they were like really looking through this at a fine-tooth comb. And I'm like, this went to a level I never even thought of, guys. But it's just funny. So
that reminded me of my this guy used to work for me when I was throwing raves, and there's actually a lot of thought that goes into how to put a rave together if you want to make money from the rave and have the rave be successful. Like there's a belief that if you just tag on something, a theme to it, it will be successful because the theme is what will sell, and that's not necessarily true. But this guy, he really, really thought he had figured it all out, and he got kind of an ego working for me, and he decided he was going to go off on his own and throw raves as well. So he books the venue I book the most. Okay, that's fine, using my resources. And he decides he's going to call it Kamikaze, right? So he's going to call it Kamikaze. He's only going to book Asian DJs all night, and he's going to book it for December 7th. So he books all Korean DJs for his Kamikaze party on December 7th.
Oh, shit.
It had no idea what he had done.
What had he done?
Huh?
What had he done?
Well, I mean, the first thing is December 7th is Harbor Day, Pearl Harbor Day in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
December 7th, 1941, the day of infamy.
Yeah. Second, he booked all Korean DJs, and you may know this, Christy, but a lot of Koreans really hate the Japanese.
Yeah, Kamikaze is Japanese.
They're quite resentful, I would say.
Especially over World War II. So he booked all Korean DJs for a Japanese named party that on the day where Kamikaze, we learned what Kamikaze means in the U.S.
I have a question. How did you get everything cleaned up in time for the John Lennon assassination themed rave the next night?
It was easy. No one came to that rave. It was so dead.
They just played Imagine on loop the whole time, and everybody just kind of laid down and blissed.
Yeah,
imagination.
It was super dead, man. I felt bad for him, but I'm like, dude, like, easy, don't do that.
Every time someone does something so poorly thought through, my first thought is like, you could have just gone out for ice cream. Like, you always have the option to just not do something and go and have an ice cream instead. And people so often overlook that.
Well, it's funny because, like, when the people pull the I'm all Asian card, this is hilarious because this is what I've noticed, this correlation. The people that are really annoying about it, that are just like, oh, I'm Asian, and they go after everybody. It's so funny because usually they're a quarter to half Asian. They're the rest white. And even then, they're not the Asian that's the pure blend in that thing. So one guy's like, I'm Japanese. It's like, bitch, you're only a half to a quarter Japanese. You want to pull the Asian card? I'm all Asian. Fuck off. But he was like an obnoxious asshole about it. It's like, okay, you're fucking part Japanese. Great. You're part Asian. Awesome. Be proud. But it was like almost to a point like, I need to be Asian to be validated. It's like, you're fine white too, whatever. And like another guy, apparently, he was kind of an asshole because, like, I guess he's been an artist at cons or something. And people kind of, again, I don't want to say his name because it's like, I don't want to call out people, but apparently, like, he says, I'm doing all this artwork. But when I look at it, it's like, it looks very AI in a way. There's like a certain look to it.
Eight fingers, one of them's backwards.
Well, it's just like the thing is, you must be using the AI from. So, from my perception of AI, it's like AI art is like it extrapolates from the most common denominator of what you put in there, right? So, if
Mhm.
people do AI art, usually they try to do the ones that, like, there's been a lot of employed Chinese concept artists, Taiwanese concept artists, there's Korean concept artists. So, they'll take that blend and push it kind of together and make this sort of Asian-esque, like Korean Chinese sort of blend, depending on what flavor. So I looked at his art. I was like, okay. And then apparently he was displaying the Japanese imperial flag a lot in his artwork. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Whatever. I mean, I just was like, well, they lost, so who gives a shit, in my opinion. But apparently he's like a half to a quarter Japanese, that dude. But he was saying fucked up things to the people that were his neighbors that were Chinese, like really disparaging remarks
Oh,
about Chinese people. But what was even funnier is that I found out he wasn't, the part that was Japanese may have not have been all Japanese. And I said, why is it those fuckers always keep doing that? I just started chortling to myself about that because I just didn't get that, because it was like, I mean, it's like, I mean, anybody can be kind of like a prig about that type of shit, but it's just like, I've noticed like there's this sort of weird thing in the community. Like when you have people kind of going, I'm fucking Asian, it's like, dude, like you're not even the Asian you profess yourself to be, like I'm all Japanese or something as an example. And they're like going there. And you're like, wait, bitch, you ain't all Japanese in that one section that's Asian. Like, whatever, dude, get over yourself kind of thing. So anyway, yeah. So Prismatic, does your cat kind of look like you?
My cat?
Yeah.
No, not really. And that's fine. But we do have the same disdain in our attitude, our life, and personality, blah, 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 all that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine, though.
Yes.
He's sleeping, I think. Or wandering, I don't know. Around
He's
in my apartment.
going around doing cat things.
But he's an old guy, so he can do what he wants. As long as he's not bothering me while I'm sitting here.
And how would he bother you when they're sitting there?
Well, when he tries to jump on my lap and start touching the keyboard, well, yeah, that will be bothering me in a way. So I have to remove him and place him into a different room.
Well, I know that like sometimes cats will do this thing where they'll push their ass against you because they just want to go and like flex their muscle or something. Because I'll be sleeping on my pillow and my black cat will just push my head off my bed. She'll like literally put her hind legs and just push her with her big ass to shove my head off the pillow. And I'm like, what the fuck?
He sometimes do that, but he mostly can't keep figuring out what kind of sleeping position he wants to have, so he keeps changing it and it's bothering me. But then again, I have a big bed, so it doesn't matter. I mean, I can just pick him up, placing far end of the other bed, and well, you can do whatever you want over there. But yeah, it's like what do Americans call it? Is it a king size bed or a queen size bed? I don't know.
No, I mean I'm talking about a cat, like
it's a king size cat.
Oh, my cat?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, he's a Maine Coon. He's big enough as it is, so I haven't keep a track on him lately how big it is. But he keeps bothering me when I don't need to be bothered, and that's
what cats do.
Yeah, no, and it's freaking annoying.
Here, let me go.
Like when I'm sleeping, when I'm sitting here.
Oh, here's my ramen noodle. Fuck.
Yeah, I saw him in the background.
Here you go. This is my ramen. Fuck. Come on, I want people to show you like your stupid face.
No.
I like how he's like kind of curled in a fetal position around my
spam.
arm. Oh, and this is what he does. He's like a little worm. But you see how he's like a ramen noodle? Sorry. Aggressive relaxing. Oh, says Americans call it a big ass bed. So now I've got this little fucking monkey ass fucker right up here. So now he's kind of bothering me, but it's actually kind of okay. Kitty. Yeah, Richard actually did a really cool picture of Demon Bitch. I still have it. It's at the bottom of like all my prints and shit. But it's great because he draws Demon Bitch and it's awful. His art is great. It's just all the expression on her face and everything.
I liked having the freedom to just like lean into the grotesqueness of her and like make the grotesqueness overtly sexual.
Well, you do that anyway in all your books.
No, not always. Like I like grotesque, but it's not always like the kind of I like the celebration of flaws a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was one where I kind of got to go hog wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she kind of looked like part dinosaur, but it was actually pretty funny. It's like that look on her face, like God or something. It's in one of the books. You can pick it up on one of the Demon Bitch ones. But yes, but I just was wondering how big your cat was. Felix was how big Felix is.
Well, he's a bit bigger than yours. I think I can't really tell, but he's not like a giant, but he's a fat ass. That's basically what I call him.
Why is he a fat ass? I mean, European fat ass is different than American fat ass.
Yeah, exactly. We're smaller than American fat
Because you
ass.
weren't raised on McDonald's, god damn it.
Hey, can we not disparage McDonald's? It's delicious. It makes me
Well,
happy.
our McDonald's has actually normal size menus.
God damn it, do not dig your claws in the kids. Sorry.
Spam.
Aw, he's so cute.
He's also gonna fucking whip my face with his goddamn tail. He's a little asshole. Also, gingers are known to be little assholes. I mean, cats are known to be assholes, but gingers especially.
I keep hoping that my enormous dog is going to walk into frame at some point, but thus far he's only gone back and forth across here where you can't see him.
What kind of dog is he?
Great Dane.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's huge. Isn't that like the biggest?
Yeah, they're
dog
like one of
there
the
is?
bigger dogs.
One of the biggest. But yeah, we have currently one Great Dane and one mixed Chihuahua something.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the real back and forth.
So who's the more aggressive one? Is it the Chihuahua? I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Like that.
I think it's partly my own fault. Like I named her the Situation after my personal hero, and he has so many rage issues.
Oh God. What kind of rage issues? I haven't heard the Situation get into rage issues, but then I don't really pay attention.
I'll be honest. I've watched 4 minutes of Jersey Shore once, and all I saw him do was punch a hole in a wall. And I was like, I need to remember that guy exists. And then the day I got my dog, she had been thrown from a moving car in Tijuana. And on the way home from picking her up, I read a news article that said that the Situation had been thrown from a moving car in Tijuana that day. And I was like, fucking perfect. Like, so, she's guilty of tax evasion, and she just only cares about gym and tan laundry. And that's as much as I know about the real person, so I'm just going to ascribe those qualities to her.
Mm-hmm. Spam is a long noodle fuck, too. He's like a monkey and a cat.
His little tail.
What he needs,
I know what you're gonna fucking do.
It's a tuna in the shape of banana.
Oh, God. He's such a ramen noodle fuck. There we go. And he'll start chewing plastic and make me yell at him because he's a little dickhead that way.
Like a
Yeah.
typical cat.
Yeah, he's like a little asshole. He has like this little asshole face, like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Travis, let's talk about you in Vegas. Does Vegas like you, or you like Vegas?
I'm kind of indifferent. No, it's fine down here. It's nice that I can catch a show all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of interesting that I ended up knowing a lot of people down here who work in the entertainment industry here, because they used to work for me at some point in their little entertainment career.
Mm-hmm.
So, usual stuff, go-go dancers, turn strippers, stuff like that. So it is cool. I've been to almost all the Circus du Soleils, like wandered into most of the casinos. I've had a couple of big nights out. I went to EDC this year.
Oh, how was that?
It was cool. Like, that scale is insane to me. And because, my raves at max hit 4,000, 5,000 people. That was something like 500,000 people. So it's just, the economy scale is insane. And, it's 3 or 4 mile walk from the car just to the entrance. And you know, the rave itself takes up, I think, over a mile of stages. And, you know, any one of those stages is one of the biggest stages I've ever seen. And there's like 13 stages or something crazy. And, you know, and I've been all over the world partying. I've been to Europe and stuff to go to parties and stuff. And just EDC's a beast. You know, it was really interesting. One of the nights I was looking at there's a stage that had like a giant robot head thing going on, called the Connect stage. And the stage had these arms, and it was like doing yoga poses. It was like a chick's head with a like a lotus flower hat on, and the eyes were moving and the head was moving. I was like, I couldn't tell because it was so far back. My vision was a little off. And I was trying to figure out if they were screen mapping on that, like, you know, mapping on it with video, which we used to use as a trick. We'd have like 3-dimensional objects and we'd map onto the objects. Was that you guys? One of you guys having a fire thing? Anyways,
I think that might have been cues. Anyway.
All right. So I was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I didn't think anything of it, and I decided to text one of the guys who used to build stages for me that I think is still building stages. I'm like, hey man, do you know if this thing's got like video screen mapping, or like if it's a giant robot stage? And then I sent it, and I was like, oh god, it's 4 in the morning. Like, what am I doing? And he replied back a few minutes. No, it's a giant robot stage. I kind of worked on it. I'm busy building the other stage for them for the next one. I just realized that one of my old stage designer works for them now. So that was kind of crazy. So anyways, yeah, it's good. I mean, like I said, it can be a Tuesday afternoon and I can just be like, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'm going to go see, you know, somebody famous today. I couldn't think of all the famous people. Literally, there's so many. It's insane, you know. And unlike when I lived in Seattle all those years, a lot of times I would look at tour dates, and sometimes Seattle's kind of iffy. It's like there's only like a 70% chance a tour will land in Seattle, but all tours land in Vegas. So every time someone says someone's coming into the U.S. to do a tour, I'm like, okay, they'll have at least one Vegas date.
It's probably like because Vegas is just so well mobilized, but it's not like overtly crowded, so they can get everything together and then go, you know.
Yeah. It is. It's insane how many shows that you can hit. But on that note, too, I also feel older. I got really excited about getting backstage passes to Orbital. And I told my friend and coworker, and she looked at me with this look, and I thought, oh, God, I'm my dad, and Orbital is my Rolling Stones. She has no idea what I'm talking about and why I'm excited. I don't know if you guys ever had that experience growing up, but like, your parents getting really excited because they got Rolling Stone tickets. You're like, that old band from the 70s.
I just had that experience right now when you talked about something called Orbital.
Yeah, thanks, old Travis here. Just gonna be old here.
No, I know about Orbital. I haven't watched Orbital, but I know about them.
Yeah. Well, I was super excited. She's just like, what the? I'm like, oh, I guess they're my Rolling Stones now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like this, you know. I think it, like I was like talking about the Violent Femmes earlier, Richard and I, and I'm like, God damn, I think I'm kind of old too.
Well, I mean, when you were talking about that, I was kind of snickering because like I missed all that. So while you guys were all seeing like Violent Femmes and stuff, I had no idea that stuff was going on because I was at raves. You know, like it's very strange sometimes. I've talked to Richard about this before, where it's like people will bring up this band like as the biggest band in the world, and they were. But I don't remember anything about them or how big they were, or never saw any of their merchandise. I just never noticed them. You know, I was too busy just being like reaching for the lasers.
I think really the tipping point for me with Violent Femmes was when they appeared on Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
It was just like who decided that they would be the right kind of guest for that audience of 10-year-olds?
I had a crush on Gordon Gano for a while. He was adorable in person. Gordon Gano, lead singer of Violent Femmes.
No.
I tried to think of a joke about having a crush on someone from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but I couldn't remember anyone who was in it.
Melissa Joan Hart and Salem the Cat.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Bakey was the voice of Salem, but I thought that was too deep a pull. Was Martin Mull in that? I'd fuck
Carolina Rhea?
I'm not interested. I'm gonna choose Martin Mull. He's my guy. So we'll do a rewind, and you can say you had a crush on Gordon Gaynor, and I'll say I had a crush on Martin Mull. It'll be very good. We won't really do it.
Martin Mole, is he the guy that played the guard on Night Court?
I don't know.
No, there's Richard Mole. Never mind.
Yeah.
He's the little like sort of. His energy is very much like what if John Hodgman was older?
Uh-huh. No.
Hey guys, I feel terrible, but I gotta go be a boss.
Be a
You
boss.
You gotta go?
Hey,
Yeah,
Keely,
I-
what's up? I don't know who Keely's from, but hello, Keely. How's it going?
Hi, Keely.
Keely Chow is everywhere.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
gotta let you know, Keely, there's like
Hi,
Kickstarters
Keely.
everywhere.
Kickstarters everywhere. All right, guys. I hate to leave a little early, but I do gotta get back to the office and leave this liminal space that I'm in.
All right. So Travis, you won't be at Long Beach on Saturday. You got surgery.
No, I'm gonna have the surgery, but I'll message everybody when I get out of the surgery. I'll post something.
All right.
So if I'm really messed up,
Alrighty.
Richard, I'll call you and tease you, and you can tease me back. You can have fun with messed up Travis time.
I mean, I'll be at a con. I
Just go
won't
eat
answer.
Asian food. That'll be good.
What?
You should like go eat the Asian food. It's good over in Vegas. Actually,
Nope.
it is. Cold Mountain or Spring Mountain Drive.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
like,
That's
all the
actually.
Asian places.
I go there a lot, actually. All right. Well, was it consumed Christie for the day? And if I said that right, because it's been 20 years since I learned that, I'm gonna
Just
take off.
looking at you like,
Huh?
I'm just looking at you like,
No.
Travis,
Okay.
get back to work.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Bye.
go to work. Bye.
Alrighty. Good
Bye,
luck.
Travis. So yeah, I put in all the Kickstarters. Travis is in there. He's a Starlight, and it's actually a real fun read. And yeah, it's about ravers and kids that used to be heroes, and then they realize I'm obsolete by the time I'm 16. So Richard, go and pitch that like wonderful, sexy bean footage or beautiful bean footage, as they said. Like I know you talked about it, but with some of the people coming in about. So what inspired like the ex-wives of Dr. Frankenstein?
Well, I really like I like to tell stories about characters who are who want to be friends. I really like the dynamic between people who feel a link to someone else, but they don't quite know how to express it yet. And these two kind of seem like the perfect version for that. In the original novel Frankenstein, the first time Elizabeth is described, she's mentioned as Victor Frankenstein's mother adopted this kid because she says the kid was too pretty to live with a poor family. So she adopts her and then gives her to Victor, her 5-year-old son, and says, "This is Elizabeth. She's here for your every pleasure." And then Victor grows up and marries her. And I thought there's a really cool dynamic that I can play with where, like, I'm playing fast and loose with the mythology, obviously. It's set in the modern day. But where the bride is so resentful of the fact that she was made from parts of corpses and given as a gift to the monster, and she truly believes that no one can understand what that feels like. And Elizabeth has never said this out loud, but has been living with that feeling now for, my guess is based on character design, about 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the resentment they have of the "you couldn't possibly understand me" that goes back and forth unspoken between them is always the bridge they're trying to, or the gap they're trying to bridge. I'd never done a work that was from someone else's IP before. Most people who work in comics are very focused on, like, they want to write their Spider-Man story, or they have a fun adventure for Clark Kent to go on, whatever. And I've just never had that. I've never had that urge. Like, all of my books have been, my own thing. I mean, certainly when I was a teenager, there was some stuff that was very derivative of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, but still, it was always my own thing. And then when this idea popped up like 5 or 6 years ago now, I just kind of thought, like, well, I'll just leave that. That can be a thing that I'll never do, or if I do it, I'll find it won't be a comic. It'll be like I'll write a pilot script or something.
Stop.
And so it's kind of just always sat around as that in different versions. And then this year, I just finished this huge book that took me like 9 months to do last year, 4-Color Heroes, which is like gay teen love story about 2 boys who fall in love through superhero comics. And I needed something that would be kind of a little bit more like hand drawn, I guess. Like Four Color Heroes was hand drawn, but it was very like fine detail work because I really wanted to establish a difference in style between the real world and the imagined superhero comics that are in it. So there's just like a lot of like wearing a lamp on my head and reading glasses to get in close enough, and pens that were so delicate they would break every page.
Oh,
And I
God.
just needed something that felt like tactile, and I didn't want to do any digital coloring. I didn't want to do any digital alteration to anything. So this Ex-Wives of Frankenstein was like, I knew the first 8 pages. I knew that it was Victoria, which is the name the bride is going by now. Victoria in the bathroom, there's some text from a self-help book about to make yourself feel beautiful isn't to deny your scars, it's to embrace them. And so she is putting on her lipstick in the mirror and then follows the line of stitching from her mouth down her neck and outlines all of the stitching all over her body, and then writes on the mirror, I am beautiful, but the lipstick runs out before she gets to the end of the word. Because in a world where you get to embrace your scars, if you have that many, the system is just not going to work for you. And I always knew that I wanted that, and then her to just be in the shower with all of the lipstick running off of her body, and like basically try and create a shower sequence that wasn't sexy. It was vulnerable and defeated, basically, to show like what her starting point is, and then what the mask is that she puts on for the world. And I had this loose thought that it was going to be a story all about her, where Elizabeth Frankenstein wouldn't really feature. She'd be kind of like a spiritual evil that was present in the world, and we'd focus just on Victoria and her own journey. And then I thought, like, I was coming up to the end of page 7 as she's like getting out of the shower and like getting dressed for the day with her t-shirt with a big bolt on it. And I was like, fuck it, I just want to do a story about 2 ladies having a difficult day together. And so it just kind of, it sprung from there, and really quickly I had the full first issue done and an outline for the full story arc. And yeah, it's a complicated, weird thing, but I'm really in love with it and obsessed with these characters and just want to be drawing more of it. And I'm stuck doing this. Oh, it's not stuck. I'm doing a horror story that I've been like planning for years at the moment, but it's so time consuming, and I would love to just have a week to work on the Ex-Wives again.
Well, you're going to make another one, obviously, after this.
Oh yeah, well, the first 4 issues are done, so the first arc is actually complete. The first one is on Kickstarter now. I'll have the second one up in, I think, October, and then January and March. Just because I need to have the time to get variant covers and do fulfillment and all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing a book in between that, actually, Christy, I think you're going to love my next book. It's called I'm Only Drawing Danny DeVito as the Penguin Until I Stop Wanting to Fuck Him. And it is it's me trying to figure out why I've become attracted to Danny DeVito as the Penguin by drawing portraits of him and journaling my masturbatory adventures, to try and in the hope that I can familiarize myself with him or find flaws in him that I don't find appealing, rather than things that just make me want to fix him with love.
Question, when you said October.
Yep.
When you said October, would it be before or after Halloween?
Well, if it was after Halloween, it would be November. So probably before.
Interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, I will do some kind of Halloween promotion thing. I don't know what it'll be yet, just because of my insane schedule for the rest of the year. But I've been doing comics for 31 years at this point, and this first issue is my 275th published book. So it's sort of I know how to do the printing. I know how to do the shipping. I know how to do those parts. I can kind of do them in my sleep. It's more a matter of putting aside the day to do them. So a lot of it at the moment is just, when will I be in my office in LA, so that I know that I have my scales and my label printer and my enormous stack of Gemini mailers on hand.
So is it the same office that I've been to?
Yeah. I'll never give that place up. It's too magical.
It's great. It's a cool little place. You told me about many funny things that happened in there.
The man fucking the fish. Yeah.
Well, that one and like the guy taking his pants off and
Oh my God.
like that. If you want to talk about that story, that was a funny story. But if you don't want to talk,
No. It's one of these things where I always feel like he probably watches me everywhere I go. I had really like, if you have an office in Hollywood and you're not not like a slimeball who works in film, there is still something sort of magical in the make pretend of having turning it into a fuck palace and having some fun random hookups in there. And I had what I can only describe as like very mediocre sex. Like I was not on my A game and neither was he. There was no connection whatsoever. This is 5 fucking years ago. Almost 6 at this point, actually. And I thought, okay, I'll never hear from this person again. Next day, he texts me, "How are you?" Or he messages me on Grindr, "How are you?" I don't respond. I have never responded for 6 years, and he still, anytime I'm in LA and he sees that I'm within striking distance, he will message me. Years and years and years into this, he starts messaging me and saying like, "Hey, I drove past you. Really happy you're back in town. Would love to come by."
and you're just like this, like,
Yeah, just complete. I'm just, I can show you like the screen. I can show you a scrolling screenshot of every single message. It's just hello, 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 hello.
oh, like, hello, how are you? How are you? How are you? Kind of thing.
And then one day I'm across the street getting a bottle of water, and I come back, and he is like standing outside the gate to my complex, and I look, and there's some people in the courtyard who I kind of want to I want to keep my relationship with them good. Like I don't know if I'm going to work with them or what, but like we have some stuff in common, so I'd like to not let them know every part of my dirtbag lifestyle. And so I say, okay, you need to just come upstairs. So I take him into my office and I say, you can sit there. I'm busy. I'm working. Nothing's happening. I sit down and start working and ignore him. And then I look back over and he has taken off all of his clothes and is just sitting naked on the couch.
What the fuck?
I'm like, all right. So I continue ignoring him for 2 full hours until he stands up, puts his clothes on and says, "I guess you're not interested," and leaves. And I think, cool.
Took you long enough.
Cool. This is over forever. This is finally done. Next morning, open up Grindr. "Hello, how are you?" Still wants me. I'm like, and I would look, we've all done the thing where you have sex with someone that's very passionate and you don't like or care about them, but like you're just in the moment, you grab the back of their head, you make really close eye contact, you don't quite kiss them, and then you kind of climb them like a tree, like the traditional wild fuck. And that stuff is great. You can understand why someone would be like, I need to come back for some more of that action. But this was not that. This was very mediocre sex. So I don't know why he wants more of it. He didn't seem impressed at the time.
What?
He didn't seem impressed. He seemed really underwhelmed by it as well.
Maybe he just has like this sort of stoic, like not stoic, but kind of a very like nonplussed personality. I don't know. Prismatic, he's still awake. Did this guy bore you so much?
No, I'm paying attention.
No, it's just funny
I'm
because
not saying much.
it's like going, oh no, even that dude like underwhelmed fucking Prismatics.
I mean, maybe it was best for you to ignore that person. Totally.
Yeah.
Control Alt Delete.
I mean, some people are scary, weird like that.
I mean, I had a guy who I came back to my office and there was a guy leaning on the gate and he was kind of crying and shaking. And I asked him if he was okay. And he started telling me this whole sob story about how he had, this was like 2021, like late 2021. And he was like, oh, I haven't left my house in 18 months. And I finally got up the courage to do it. I went to like meet someone who I'd been chatting to online. And then I missed my bus. And so I had to walk and I was almost there. And then they just canceled on me because I was running so late. And I just don't really know what's happening. And I was like, okay, do you have a phone? He said, my phone has just died. And I said, okay, do you want me to find out where the next bus is and how to get you home? He said, yeah. I said, okay, come inside with me. I say, I promise, like, this place looks really murdery, and Christy, you can back me up on that. It super duper does, but I promise, it's a safe place.
Yeah,
And
it's actually kind of nice. I don't know why you say it's murdery looking. It's
just the stairwell, just like the big stair. It's got a creepy vibe.
I've seen worse.
Like the Sixth Sense.
I would say, like, okay, if it's murdery, it's like noir, like 50s noir murdery. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, like my office. If you've seen the film Argo, the place where they write the fake script, that's my office. So it looks like it should be like a detective's office. But I'm walking up the stairs. It's 27 steps or some crazy shit, and we're almost to the top, and he trips and he falls, and I hear his knee hit the step, and his bag flies out in front of him, and this double-ended dildo flies out of the bag and just starts bouncing around like a fucking football in the hallway. And I look, and he's just like kind of rolls over on the stairs and just like lies there. So I help him up, and he's now shaking like crazy. I take him into the office.
I guess he's like totally defeated at this point, spiritless. And he's like basically dickless and friendless and all this.
Yeah, like he's having a bad time, right?
Yeah.
So I sit him down in my armchair, and I say, look, I'll get you some water. And I can see that his leg is sort of twitching, like it's hurting him for it to be touching his pants. And I say, did you cut your leg? And he says, I'll check. Stands up, drops his pants. He's wearing very tight mesh underwear, and his leg is bleeding everywhere, now just all over my carpet. And he looks at it, and he just starts crying. And this guy is like maybe 50 or 60, I guess. And so I go and get some like paper towels and some water, and I start like helping him with his leg, and I find some like Band-Aids. And then he just sits down, and he eventually puts his pants back on, and I look up a bus for him, whatever. And I walk him back down the stairs, holding his hand to make sure he doesn't fall. I walk him to the bus stop, and we've talked a little bit at this point. And he finds out that I'm originally from New Zealand, and he says that he went to New Zealand and he really loved it. He said he actually had like a great time there because he had a lot of sex. And I jokingly said, "Oh, who with? There's only 11 of us, so I probably know them." And he said, "Oh, I dated this guy named Tony. I won't say the last name. When I was there in 2016." And I was like, "Well, I was dating Tony in 2016. When was this?" And it turns out that the 4 weeks that I was in the US, this guy came to New Zealand and dated my boyfriend.
Damn.
And this boyfriend was like a horrible person. So I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. The next day he emails me and says, "Hey, I saw your name written down on some of your books and things. So I looked you up, found your email address. Would love to talk to you more about our shared ex. Also, in case you're interested, here are 7 pictures of my butthole."
Well, you get right to it, right there. Like, hey, let's fuck.
Oh, get in.
Oh, look, your account jumped right up as Richard was going on.
Oh my god. It's one of these weird ass stories, but hey, it is what it is.
I mean, like this, what I've noticed about gay dudes is that they will send each other pictures of their buttholes. And it's just like sometimes like they said, "Oh, want to take a look at my pictures?" They said, "Sure." And so I'll scroll them, and then they'll show the part where they're lying flat in the bed with their ass out. And I'm like, art picture. I have basically learned how to take those types of pictures nonplussed as I'm looking through their pictures. It's just like
the thing was like, this wasn't
honestly,
him laying on a...
I don't think this is just being gay people. I think this is just people who don't understand that, well, there's a boundary to what you send to people.
No,
I mean, it goes the same thing with dick pics in that people send to women.
Well, I mean,
because for me, this is just too weird. And well, I'm LGBT myself, and I found this story that you just said, Richard, to be very strange in a way.
I think it's because, I know a lot of gay guys in LA, and they're very interesting sometimes. I'm like,
hey,
Yeah, but
Hey guys, I gotta bounce.
This is too weird to me.
Phone
It's
battery's
really weird.
dying.
See you later.
Nice
All right,
to
talk
meet you.
soon.
Bye.
Sorry to
Nice
interrupt.
meeting you all.
See ya.
Richard,
Yeah.
nice meeting you.
You
I
too.
hope I did
Have a
not
good-
make that broad
good
skipping
day.
generalization, Richard. I was just like going, it seems like every guy I know, like a lot of guys that I know in the LA area that are gay, they like will have that shit on their phone. Like if they say like, oh, you want to look at pictures on my phone? I said, sure. And you'd think it would be an album that wouldn't have that. Like, oh yeah, this is at like birthday party or whatever. Like, oh, okay. And then you look through them, you're like, and you see asshole or butt or something, and you're like, well, okay, you know.
See, this,
Maybe
what was
that's an
confusing-
American thing, but I just found it weird.
What was confusing about it was like it wasn't like it was a picture of him being sexy laying on a bed, whatever. It was just a close up of his butthole, and it was well lit. And I was like, how did he do this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to call it too much.
Like,
but
like I've thought about this for a long. I've never asked him, but I've thought about it a lot. Like, how did he get in focus, well lit butthole pictures? It seems like a very difficult thing to do.
Maybe he had a friend light him well, and then he just
Yeah.
had them on the side, and he just like, whenever, here's some pictures of my asshole, and you're like, was like the expression on your face, like,
that's
Well,
probably what it is.
It's like the
I mean-
greatest email sign off I've ever had from a stranger was, and if you're into fisting, my username on AssPig is beef stew.
I think Prismatics looks more disdainful as ever.
I mean, listening to this, I'm so glad I never have those experiences that you have, Richard. I mean, you can keep them. You don't need to share them.
The stories are funny though. The stories are really funny.
Yeah, it's weird and funny, but at the same time, it's interesting in a very weird way, because maybe it's just me. I don't know, but yeah.
I'll try and not tell any more butthole stories on this.
No, you can continue. I don't freaking
Okay, cool.
care,
I thought
but,
it was 50.
but I
By
mean,
the way, Richard has a Kickstarter.
we're on Christie's channel. I mean, so there.
Well, you know, it's really interesting because like beginning of the year when I put out Octopus, which is my memoir, I was very revealing. Like that book, I'm very revealing about a lot of things, and I think everyone had expected it to be this like wildly sex-driven romp, and it's not. Like it's 18 months of my life where I get divorced, steal a boat, try to disappear at sea, meet a sea captain, move to Hollywood, meet a nice man, and try to not like destroy everyone around me by being a fucking monster. And yes, there's a lot of sex clubs and poppers and other fun activities, but like it is largely a strange introspective journey about like how do you grow out of order. And during the campaign for it, like everyone had all these questions of like they'd read one chapter and they'd be like, we want to know more. Like, what's your favorite sex club? Why do you like that one? When do you go there? Actually, as I say those questions, maybe they're just looking for a date. But by the way, the answer is Slammer in LA. Sunday afternoons, a senior discount day, so you get a much older crowd. Very good place. It's prison themed. But like now I'm doing like over this year, I've had a kid's book come out. I've had a book that I started when I was 7 and finished when I was 37. That's like cute ghost cartoons. I've had Haunted Hill come out, which is more adult, like surrealist soap opera. And then I've had this like YA romance come out. And because it all kicked off with Octopus, every fucking time I get asked a question, it's like, tell us more of your weird butthole stories, Richard. So I'm just trained to do it now.
I mean, I think my black cat's skull butthole.
Yeah, can you just get your cat to stop sending us all butthole pics, please, Christy?
Oh, I have it on my Facebook because she had the most priceless looks on her face. Like she's like, that's the look on her face. Like, and then it's kind of funny because her back is turned and she's like, her asshole's in the air. That's a great one. Yeah, she does that. She's got the big ass right here.
Yeah, but that's supposed to be a glamorous ass pic from a cat, so.
Well, I mean, she is an asshole. What can I say? She just likes showing it off. Lawrence calls her big black booty bitch. like big black booty bitch. You know, he said, "Guess who's by me, dude?" He says, "Big black booty bitch." She fucking pimp slapped him one time too. She like slapped him. She had this chicken neck look on her face, and like, bam, bam, and then she walked off. He's like, "Oh fuck," you know. She didn't scratch him. She just slapped him really hard, like on the arm.
I like the way she's looking at you while you did
No.
that. Because
Hey,
she keeps
Kat, what's
turning
up?
it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like it's funny. I dropped these major things. Like one of them was like this picture of me in a dress that I never thought I would have gotten before. And it's like shameless plug. Look on my Facebook. It's the most recent picture of me that I popped up on there. And it's like I never thought I'd get that dress, but I thought because I looked at that, I was like, I don't know. You know, like you see some outfits. I mean, I think girls kind of run into this more than guys because you know the dresses or shit that we get designed for our bodies is like kind of they get really outlandish, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm saying guys can't dress outlandishly, but girls like we have a bit more of a license to sometimes on certain things. So there's this dress that I will call the snake dress. It's like see-through mesh. It's got rhinestones all over it, but it's like these two snakes and how the holes are cut in the dress. It's like borderline almost slutty. Like it could be too much, but it does it just enough to be alluring and sexy. And I looked at that and it's a bodycon dress. So bodycon, you know, when they have women that model it, they basically, they've had some work done. You could tell like the boobies and the ass and everything. They got the big, really huge ass. I mean, I'm not saying that every woman that has a really huge ass has surgery, but generally those models do, or they have really big tits. They have a certain look to them. It's like, yeah. So I said, fucking, oh yeah, are you talking about the one that I thought you looked like Madame Piper? Yes, you look very beautiful in that dress. Yes, thank you. So what I did was so I looked at that dress. I said, oh, that is the most fucking extra ass dress. Let's get it. You know? So I got it. I mean, obviously I'm wearing underwear underneath the dress, but when I looked at it, I'm like, you know, this actually works. I like looked at the dress. I'm like, wow, this actually works. And so there's this guy named Todd. He worked as the colorist for Shadowhawk. He was on the last Asian Invasion in LA, and his fiance, I didn't know she was a photographer, but she asked like, "Hey, you want to go take pictures and stuff?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." Famous last words, but actually she's really good. So because I usually put up like pictures of my outfits or me and my outfits, or there's pictures taken of me. It's like, oh, bring some of your cool outfits and stuff. So I have that green dress. I'll be putting more. I'll be sprinkling it throughout whenever I get them. But they were done in fun. And she looked at them and she's like, wow, you know. But yeah, I did that dress. I said, fuck it, I'll put that up on there because like compositionally wise, the picture looks really good. So
yeah, I always think that like men's clothing is so much more boring in terms of shapes.
Yeah.
And like it's just and the whenever there's something that is like an interesting new shape, it sort of doesn't work, and it's because there hasn't been decades and decades or centuries of people trying different things to figure out what can work and what can look cool. I'm very bored by a standard suit, but I'm no more interested by here's a suit but in a different color. You know, I don't need to look like fucking David S. Pumpkins to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like I was showing Jack Foster these, but the ones that I actually found more interesting for the male body line are corsets. Like there's this guy, he's always putting on these corsets. And even though they're kind of like sort of the same design, the colors and how they make the materials they make out of, it's very interesting.
Mm.
So, and then it actually tightens up the guy's body line. It's not that the guy is like fat or anything. He's got the stereotypical, like really hot body, but it actually tightens the lines up more. So it's like, it actually looks really kind of cool.
Mm. Mm.
So, but yeah.
I try and do everything I can to have like the biggest hair and biggest feet that I can. So trying to create some kind of off kilter energy to it, and then have a coat that moves.
You should just be goth.
I should just be goth. I should go back to my teenage goth phase 100%. But I get bored too easily, you know, like. But everything ends up being based around the shoes or the boots most of the time, and then just draw the focus with something something at the bottom, so when people don't want to look me in the eye, they can still see my nice shoes.
Well, actually, you could try like looking for goth clothes. Like they actually have some interesting patterns there in waistcoats and things like that.
They do, but they're either insanely expensive or really poorly made.
Really, like there's some actually. Vampire Freaks has good deals.
Okay.
Vampire Freaks is pretty good with that, so you might want to take a look at them.
I was in I wear most of my pants are kind of patterned and have various chains and things and straps and what have you. And I was at a con and these like desperately cool teenagers came up to my table and they were dressed essentially the way that I like to dress when I'm being fancy. And I saw this guy's pants, and I said, "Oh," and we were talking for a few minutes, and they seemed to like my vibe. And I looked at him, and I said, "Oh, I like your pants. Where did you get them?" And he said the name of the store, and I said, "Oh, okay." And then he looked at me, he says, "But I think a store like that kind of has an age limit, and honestly, probably a size limit." And I was like, "This is the bitchiest anyone's ever been to me in public. This is amazing." I was like, "You're so cool. You were me when I was your age."
Duh.
I want to just give him a hug and be like, "Congratulations, you're going to regret having said that tomorrow and feel guilty for years."
Well, it's kind of funny because it's like one of my friends said actually that they kind of say dress your age, but that's actually shamed at people that don't age well. Like, yeah, as I said, this is not body shaming, but I think it's really hilarious. Like when some girls don't wear things good for their shape, it doesn't matter if they're fat or skinny or anything in between. If they don't wear stuff that fits their body shape, it looks bad. It doesn't matter what it is. Like there's certain bathing suits that's like with the string bikinis and how they cut the bottoms and everything. It's like, that doesn't look good. Like even on a skinny girl, like it doesn't look good. It's like how it fits on your body. That's when it's important. But yeah, like now I think like Dolls Kill also has it. They have men's stuff, but they don't have as much as women's. Yeah. But that's another one. But Killstar also has some good sales and deals.
That's true. Yeah, I like Killstar.
Yeah, like I've gotten some really good pieces at Killstar too. So I got to say that like with goth or dressing as a romantic, it's kind of fun.
I think like I would do really well if I lived somewhere cold. You know, I have a lot of. I was at Wasteland recently, and I got like a floor-length white leather coat that is so billowing and beautiful, and like there's nowhere that I can wear that in LA. There's no time of the year when it's okay for me to wear that fucking outfit.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could. I mean, right now it's kind of hot, but even with girls, I think you can wear goth clothes or some shit, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, as I said, it's funny because like I had lost a lot of weight. So it's like, it's kind of weird because looking at the body shape now that I have, it's kind of like, oh, wow. Okay. You know, that's kind of cool. I didn't know my body looked like that. So I never thought I could ever wear a dress like that. So that's kind of cool. But it was like when I wore that, I was like, I was showing somebody that dress, not me in it because I hadn't gotten it yet. But I looked at that and said, that is the most fucking extra dress ever.
I don't know. I get so excited whenever anything is well crafted or interesting, like doing something interesting with fabric and then I think about it. I'm like, but that's a thing I can wear once. And if like, it's fine to have a well varied wardrobe, but if you have one interesting piece, then that becomes the only thing you ever wear. And I don't know. I get bored too easily. I
think it's like it's varying things that I have to wear. That's like a statement or a signature because it's like there's only so much space in your wardrobe to have so many clothes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but you have to have varied. Like sometimes I look at a dress, I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I think I might get it. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have something similar to this. Fuck this shit. But it has to be like, you know, like as I said, that snake dress. It's like when I got it, I wasn't expecting much. I was expecting this like kind of cheap piece of shit or whatever. But it actually, the rhinestones on it are set really well on it, as well as like the design. Like it doesn't feel like it's gonna like just flake off or something. So it's actually pretty well put together.
I just bought a jacket online that's got tigers all over it, like like full images of tigers, not just the print. But I don't get to see it's arrived at my PO box down in LA. I'm getting there tomorrow, so I finally get to see it. I've been waiting for weeks, and like it's either going to be really fucking cool or an absolute piece of trash garbage that will, you know, look like it was photographed well online and will look like it should be a $5 jacket instead.
Yeah, you're just like, what is this piece of shit now?
Yeah. Remember when everyone ordered that Adam West Batman costume, and then when it arrived, they all realized that a pretty specific element of Adam West as Batman was his body shape?
Yeah, it's kind of like built like a trunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's kind of like a square. I mean, I'm not trying this to insult him. I'm like, you can be different body shapes. Like they talk about triangular, apple, pear, or whatever, hourglass, and everything.
Egg, yeah.
But it's kind of weird. It's kind of funny because it's like with Adam West, I guess, like because I think I remember they said he had a paunch or something. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't really see it that much. It was like he had kind of an average body shape for how old was he at the time? Like 30 or something? 35 or something?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Prismatics, how was your day at work? Hello? Wow, Prismatics is like out of it. Oh. Sometimes he drops out. He drops out of his connection. He's not offended. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I wasn't worried.
Okay. I think you liked him because he had this like disdainful sound to his voice. Like
yeah, it immediately made me want to impress him.
Oh, okay. No, actually, it's funny. I find it strangely endearing about him because he's just like, he sounds so disdainful, but when you actually get a conversation with him, he's a very sweet, tolerant guy. It's just the Norwegian accented English makes it sad. Oh, yeah. God. Yeah. So he sounds disdainful. And I said, I can only imagine your cat looks as disdainful as how you sound. Like if you see like the bred Maine Coon cats, like the ones that are really like got the big mouths and shit, and they're like.
I feel like I've interacted with Prismatics somewhere before.
I'm trying to remember. He's on Twitter.
Maybe it's Twitter. Maybe he backed one of my other books.
Perhaps, yeah.
I feel like I've seen the name, I've seen the avatar. Oh well, I'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny though, because it's like when I posted myself in dresses, I will have to say that, you know, girls have complained before, like when they post themselves in certain bits of wardrobe, they're like, yeah, guys like do this and that to me, like in terms of like sneaking into my DMs, and it's disgusting, but it's weird. Largely on a whole, the male audience is very respectful. They're not overly simpy, but then again, I'm known as Demon Bitch, so I think they're kind of going, if I fuck with her, what's she gonna do to me?
Yeah, it's good. Like get out there, get out ahead of it, and make everyone scared of you first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always shocked. Like I get sent, you know, like I'm on various dating apps and I get sent a lot of garbage by a lot of people, and a lot of like very aggressive, like just like here's 11 pictures of my dick, and then just a question mark. I'm like, what's the question? What's the question? Is the question like, do I want your dick? Like, I'm not gonna respond to this. I mean, if it was like a really good dick, sure, but I was thinking it was annoying that happens to me 4 or 5 times a day, and then my friend was like, let me show you my phone. I looked at her phone and I was like, oh, this is like about every 2 or 3 minutes someone's doing this to you. Okay, yeah, no, that's a lot.
Yeah, I barely get any dick pics, like once in a blue moon. It seems like every Kickstarter I got a dick pic, but they weren't like normal dicks. They were like really disgusting. I think I showed you some of them. Like I on the whole, I've gotten like 3. And I looked at that and I was like, one of them, I was like, is there something wrong with your dick? Like I literally said that to the guy. I said, I was like, wow, that looks really malformed, because it was like literally like, it looked like there was something wrong with it. And I was like, and then he deleted it, but not before he screenshot it. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I sent that by mistake. I'm like,
so my move is if someone asks for my number and I think they're going to be like, and I'm not interested and they seem like they're a creep, I will say, let me put it in your phone, and I just go and I change the contact that's listed as mom or ma or whatever, change it to my name, and then delete their text history. So then they think it's a new contact, and then they send dick pics to their mother when they get home.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's hilarious. Like, and there was one guy that sent me like his silvery elf hair dick. I don't know. It must have been covered in elf hair because that's what it looked like. And he just sends it to me, and he says, "Here, me, heart." And I'm like, I don't know what to say about this. But then again, it is kind of funny getting those because I said, "Oh, you just fucked up." Because here's the thing. It's one thing if you're sending stuff to each other. You've been talking sexy and, like, I'll show you yours, you show me mine. I get that. That's fine, whatever. But if you send unsolicited shit, it's like, oh, I'm going to go and do whatever I want with it to a point. Like you send me a picture of your dick, I'm going to make fun of you. So there you go.
About a decade ago, I was in a small town in New Zealand at a convention. I was in the hotel, and this guy, I was really hungry. I needed to go out and get some dinner. I was just kind of debating what to have. And this guy messaged me and says, "Hey, I think we're in the same hotel. Here's a picture of my room." And he sends a picture, and it's him lying naked on the bed, but he's taking he's done the mirror selfie, so he's far away.
Oh gosh,
from the
it's
mirror.
like this, like kind of in the back,
he's far enough away from the mirror that he's not really the focus of it. It is really more the hotel room. And I see that he has a bucket of KFC, and so I just messaged back and I said, "How much KFC is left?" And he said 4 pieces, and I said, "All right, what room number?" So I had sex with him and ate his chicken.
Now, fuck you. Now I want to go to Jollibee because Jollibee is near my house and I want to get their fried chicken.
Are you? What part? Oh, no! Don't say on the internet. I was about to ask what part of town are you in?
Well, I'll probably tell it to you offline once we
Yeah.
When we conclude at 2, I'll tell you. But yeah. But there's a Jollibee near me, so it's
okay. Yeah, that means you're probably very near my favorite sex club.
Well, don't tell me where to go because I don't think they'll be interested. And number 2, I don't do sex clubs, so
it's reasonable.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like as one gay guy said, "Yeah, Jollibee, Joe, Filipino pride." Even though I'm not Filipino, but hey, Filipino pride there. But it's hilarious because it's like, it's kind of funny. As one gay guy I knew said, "Oh, honey, I'm not buying what you're selling." Like, not that I was hitting on him, but it's kind of like I said, "Oops, I did that." He said, "Oh, honey, I'm not buying what you're selling."
The way I discovered this place was when I first arrived in LA and I was looking for a place to live, and I find this listing for a 4-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month.
Oh,
and I'm like, that's insane. And so I go to look at the place, and it's a really nice place. Hardwood floors, modern appliances, like everything about it was pretty great, and it was very cheap. And I said, just one question though, it does smell like piss. And the realtor, without batting an eyelid, said, "Oh yeah, it's piss Thursdays downstairs."
Oh fuck! The shit you hear. See, it's like I could never ever be involved in a sex club because there's too many hilarious stories about it. So it's not like I couldn't get turned on by any of those things because it would just be like, oh my god, the stupid shit that happens and the drama that happens as a result. I just like I don't even want to deal with it. It's kind of like when you think about murdery, like when you said your stairwell was murdery.
Mm-hmm.
I said like some of those places are even more murdery, or they're just sleep fuck, and then you're just like I don't want to even deal with these stupid things at all. It's like, I mean, I went to. It's kind of funny. Like I have been to a couple of places. Like I've been to Bondage a Go-Go, like beforehand, like long time ago before they closed down in San Francisco and they turned into the Glass Kitty and shit. But they've had, I mean, it's like going to Bondage a Go-Go. That was fun. That was an experience, but it's not really a sex club. Although I was over at GDC, I believe, and then they held a party. One of the video game parties were fucking awesome back then because you could experience it without like going into full on wherever it was. Mm-hmm. So I went in there, and then you saw these fucking line of nerds, like 2 huge lines of nerds standing there while 2 mistresses whipped them on like these. I forgot what the crosses are, the ones that are X crosses, like St.
the St. Andrew's cross.
St. Andrew's cross, thank you. So because the St. Peter's one was like St. Peter like got crucified upside down. I'm trying to remember the other saint that was in the X. So Andrew, so they were all in there, and then they just had these chicks whipping them. And I'm like looking at like, holy shit, if this is not the Musk of nerds, there you go.
I was I was in an online relationship with this guy for a while, and he told me this awful. So he used to like run he owned like this mansion that was just used as a kind of bondage party, like an ongoing bondage party every weekend. And then he went to like do some gardening during the week, and he heard people in there, and like he told this whole story about like it was this person who'd set themselves up in there, kind of chained themselves up, and then like flicked the key away so they couldn't get to it, with the hope that someone was going to show up and come and like do some shit to them. But a stray dog had wandered in, and so this guy was just like naked on a cross, and like terrified because a very angry dog was growling at him and threatening him. And so my friend said that he was like, I don't like that this is happening and that I could be associated with it. So he burnt the house down.
Where the fuck was he? Was he able to do that?
I don't know. This is Florida in the 70s.
Well, hey, that's Florida. There's a reason.
Yeah, it's probably, it could also be Florida now.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
He's one of these people who like, he just pops into my life every few years. Like there was a couple of years there where we were talking every day, and then he got all butthurt because he came to New Zealand, and I was out of the country, and so we didn't actually end up meeting. And then I arrived back the day he was leaving, and he sent me a message to say that he couldn't be bothered selling the car he'd bought to drive around while he was down there, so he was leaving it for me with the keys in it at the bottom of the hill from the place where I was staying for the con that I was back in town for. And then when I, A, can't drive, and 2, didn't bother going to get the free car because I had a con to go to, he got very offended by it and stopped speaking to me. But every now and again, he'll just show up and be like, oh, yeah, I remarried my first wife. Okay. Good for you, buddy.
Wow. That's some shit right there. Sometimes like you just have crazy people show up in their lives. Like, oh man, it's like I just had like just really weird renegade like internet people. Like I had friends from fugly.com. Now, if you ever go in for all you young uns, if you go into the articles of the archives of fugly.com, they did some pretty crazy shit back in the day. They would kind of just fuck with people online. This was like when we had IRC and AOL and all that, where you just message each other, which kind of annoyed me because like literally I would have people like, even though I set everything to private, some of the settings were just not good, or it was just as good as saying open to the public, because they would just go and message you. Some rando would message you with ASL, which is age, sex, location. So sometimes I would get very bored and I'd say like for don't know Botswana or something like that. They just got so annoyed with that shit. And then it got to a point where if a guy bugged me and he did it enough, like I give him a chance, like, oh yeah, I kind of don't care. And then they just keep hitting me up like after 3 times. I'm like, all right, I'm going to fuck with you. So I just would fuck with them. And then I gross them out and they say, I never want to meet you ever. I said, good. That was the point. I mean, I just said like, like where they have those like, and people probably will hate me, but then again, I don't know. But at the time, like this guy says, hey, you want to hook up with like a Navy man from San Diego? I'm like, who the fuck are you, kind of thing. So he said, yeah, you want to go and hook up? I said, sure. I said, those like freeway signs where it shows families like running across the freeway? And he said, yeah. And I said, ever hit one? He said, you're sick, goodbye. I'm like, good, get the fuck out of my face. I mean, it's just like, I know what those signs are for, but it was just like, that was just particularly annoying because I wasn't soliciting for anything. B, he just assumed, you want to hook up with a Navy man? I was like, what the fuck kind of pickup line is this bullshit?
The idea that someone would be like, this is my job, does it make you want to fuck me? Is so bizarre to me.
I don't know. Like, as I said, like, I don't know if I'm an artist chick, maybe that kind of like puts a sort of like thing with people. But yeah, like some people I'm surprised at how people have not gotten mad at me when I told them that story, because I just said, well, I mean, there were signs down there. I know what it was, but it was just like, I just like didn't want the guy fucking around me anymore. Just like, I didn't want him messaging me. It's like after he said, "Hey, are you interested in hooking up with a Navy man?" I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't even fucking know you, like, kind of thing. Like, I guess back in the day, they just said, "Hey, you want a cyber?" Like, I've gotten those. You want a cyber? You want a cyber? It's like I don't even know who the fuck you are.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think people thought with cyber sex, because it was you were typing, like it didn't matter who the person was. It was just like we're being sexy, and it's so clear that like if you don't have sexual chemistry with a person in real life, like if you wouldn't have it in real life, then you're not going to have chemistry with them when you're just fucking typing. Like add in a delay as you wait for them to say something new, realize that their imagination doesn't lock in with what you are looking for. That was a terrible time in internet sex.
Well, I mean, it's like this. Okay, if you saw each other's pictures, right?
Yeah.
You were just chatting. You got kind of to know each other. Okay, I understand. But if it's like, "Hey, baby, hey, baby, hey, baby," it's like, why are you coming on with these like really shitty pickup lines? Like,
Yeah.
like this would not turn it. Like, even if you went up to a woman in a bar and said this shit to her, she'd be like, "Fuck off," like kind of thing. It's like it's largely just an unimaginative. That's all.
Yeah, that's really what like because you don't I don't want someone to deliver a pickup line to me or like unless I've never heard it before.
Uh-huh.
You know, although I would tell you the one I've used that has been 100% successful is you go up and you put your hand on a man's shoulder and you say, "Hi, I'm lonely and I feel bad about myself." That has worked for me every time.
Well, neediness and being broken, you know, apparently being fixed is a turn on, you know, for people in both orientations. It's like all a girl has to say, "I'm fucking broken," and like I'm a fucking wounded fawn, and then some guy will like go after her, and it's like even after a while, like people think, "Oh, the crazy ones like have great sex," but I said, I think even after a while, the crazy ones don't really put in that much effort, from what I've understood.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to go bam like twice for it to like actually work. But I noticed, like, from what I understand of crazy ones, they don't even try anymore. They think that they're the best in bed, where they say, "I do this and I do that and I swing my leg over and I do the reverse cowgirl position," and they're like telling you everything, and you're just like, and they're like, "Yeah," and they think they're a fucking hydraulic sexomatter pump of like the ages. And then really when you actually kind of see them, it's like I can just imagine you kind of lying there and going like, "Oof, I'm tired. I got to go eat a Twinkie."
It's very much like I've put in so much effort to get here. Now is the part where I don't have to do any more work.
Yeah, like I've heard from some of my guy friends, they hate a woman that just like, you know, at least look engaged.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of the time it is just about being present. You know, whether it's active and exciting or not, like just being present, locking eyes with the person, being in the same moment that they are in is hard to find and very special.
Well, I mean, I think people, since they all claim they have anxiety, then they go and try to rush through the whole process, and they go like, "Okay, it's over. I can't believe it." I'm like, "You weren't even present the whole time, motherfucker," you know, kind of thing. Like, I just noticed that, and again, this sounds cheesy, but since everybody claims that they have anxiety, then they go, "Oh, well, then I cannot enjoy things," and I'm like, okay, as somebody that's kind of gone through some high functioning anxiety, that's actually not a very good way to live. And I'm kind of wondering if half of y'all are miserable because like you have not like properly addressed your anxiety. I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, well, just get over it." It's not that. It's just, I don't think we've kind of learned how to be very present with things anymore. It's kind of sad. It's like, "Oh my God, I have all this anxiety. I have all this." Okay, why are you hyper fixating on your anxiety? That's like the worst thing ever. And I know some people might go like, "That's really insensitive of you to say." I'm like, I suffered from very high level anxiety. Trust me, it was not fun. But it's like I tried to go and like mitigate it as much as possible. Yes, you can still have a good life, but like any therapist and any medical professional will tell you, you have to be present in the moment. Like, okay, I am doing this now. Not like futuring like 50,000 years into the future. And I did that. You know, I did all those things. So and also, I think one of the other things that I dislike the most is that when everybody fucking hates you online and you're a total asshole, that's when you pull out the autism card or the non-neurotypical card. And I'm like, wow.
I mean,
I'm not saying for the people that are legitimately that way. I'm talking about the people that are dickheads, and then they say, "Well, I'm autistic." It's like you're not autistic. You're an asshole.
As I remember years ago, like I know, yeah, I know what you mean. Like there are people who are identifying that the cause of your problems is not the same as working towards making your life better.
Yeah.
Like it's the first step, and a lot of people jump off at that first step and say, I know what's wrong now, and that's enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that like a lot of us do. I've certainly done it with things like, it's because often it is really, especially with like medical stuff or anything that can be diagnosed, you feel like honestly it's so hard to find out what is wrong or why a thing is happening, that by the time you do, you're like putting language to it is often enough. But at the same time, there are people out there who will compete to have the most things. I remember a former friend of mine had a massive ovarian cyst, and the day that she got diagnosed with it, her roommate started telling us all about some like condition that I was like furiously Googling while she described it to find out that it was like definitely fake. And it was so clearly like oh no, my roommate's getting attention, I need to have a medical condition too. Yeah, it's gross. It's a gross behavior. I understand that people do it because they want to. There are people who do it because they want to show empathy. They want to make you feel like you're connected to them. They want to narrativize their own life to say like, hey, I can understand you. You can talk to me because I've experienced something similar. But then there are also people who are just doing it to say, no, look at me.
Yeah, it's really bad because it's like, as I said, I've had anxiety, but it's like, and I've had depression, and it's not like something I like to say, oh yeah, because not everybody's your friend. And personally, like, I don't think everybody needs to like fucking know everything. Like, there are times like I understand. I don't think there should be any shame if you say, hey, I have this emotional mental issue, I have this condition or something. I don't think that it in itself should be shamed. But I get very annoyed with people that just say it, and it's like one of the many lists of problems that they have that they tout around. And it's like, why do you want to list like you have all these problems? Like after a while, it gets almost, I guess I like to use the word, but almost pornographic. Like, yeah, I've got like, I'm neuroatypical, and I have seizures, and I have this, and I have that. I'm like, okay, all right. And then after a while, after they'll continue bitching about it, you kind of think after a while, like, what are you doing? Because you're going on about how miserable you are, but are you going to therapy? Are you seeing a medical professional? I mean,
yeah,
something?
I mean, we live in a really hard world. Like we really do. Everything is worse than it has ever been, for a lot of reasons. But I think that when I think it's that there is now a sense of like identifying is the solution, as opposed to, we all have 50 different things making our lives very hard, and I think it's completely fine to talk about them. But it's a big part of it is like, hey, I'm telling you that I have this going on so you can understand why I might find this thing harder, not I'm telling you that I have this thing going on to explain to you that I'm not going to do something, or I'm not going to try and navigate the situation because I have this, the equivalent of I have a note from my mother to say that I don't have to do gym class.
Yeah. It's like it's like basically a pass.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it is. And it's just like, it's getting to a point where I'm like, kind of like, I realized like in a moment, like on a panel when we were talking about, what motivated us for our creations. And he said, I personally hate the trending topics on Twitter or any social media because I find it kind of gross that people jump on them for whatever fucking attention, clout chasing bullshit that they will do. There's maybe a small amount of people that genuinely are affected by this and are personally upset or affected by it. That's fine. But I've gotten to a point now where it's like you can tell like who are the clout chasers. So I realize I make fun of the people that clout chase.
Mm-hmm.
It's not I make fun of the actual trending topic. I make fun of the people following the trending topic and how their responses are. I think that's more amusing.
Did you pay attention to the comics broke me hashtag?
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
I thought it was like, I think it was a really interesting one because like when it started, it was because a person who had been mistreated by their company, by a company who had employed them, who was overworked because of the expectations that are on us from corporations, had died essentially from stress. And that is terrible, and it is a reality of our industry.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people early in the hashtag who were talking about like, comics broke me because here is a thing that like I shouldn't possibly have been expected to understand. I write stories, draw pictures, and here's how a company tricked me with a contract. Everyone has stories from their careers of how companies have tricked them with the language in contracts. I have a thing. I have a thing where because books 3 and 4 in a series have a previously in page, a place that has the option on those books claims that they have the option on all the stories from the previous books as well. Like there's shit like that no rational person would ever look into. And the truth is I could fight it and probably win, but it would be very hard to do. Like the Comics Break Me hashtag was about things like that. And then a lot of people who are making comics but are not working professionally in comics for other people, people who are self-publishing, which is, there's no shame on self-publishing. There's no shame on not publishing. It's purely that people who are not under the thumb of a company demanding things on ridiculous deadlines started saying like, comics broke me, and then a story of how making comics is hard, which it is, but no one asked you to do it. And I think what happened, like then suddenly the hashtag came under fire because it was like, why are people complaining that doing a thing that's sort of that like is their choice is hard to do? And it's like, that's not what this started as. And all of the discourse around it in the weeks after has been like, yes, wasn't this stupid? And it's like, no, it actually started from something really good and worthwhile. Like we should all be talking about what our page rates are. We should all be talking about, we should be warning others about how we've been screwed over by certain publishers. That's
like bad business practices.
Like we should try and stop comics from breaking other people. But because a lot of it became about clout chasing of I work this hard to make my comics, it sort of all fell to shit.
Yeah, and even some of the people that said, well, this is how you work more efficiently, it's like, you're a fucking asshole. It's like, for people that were self-published. And what I found interesting is that another caveat was, and I can't go into too much detail, we could talk about it offline a little bit, but some of the publishers even said, or the heads of the publishers were saying, yeah, comics broke me because of this, only to find out they did the very same abusive things that it started off about, if you get what I mean. Like they did the same exact shit to everybody else, but since they were like, well, we're good for justice and everything and all that, it's like, no, you're just as much of an asshole as those other companies. Sorry, It's like they were late in paying people. They didn't pay the page rates, but they felt better because it's like, we tackle these social issues. We feel better about ourselves. It's like, no, you don't. You fuck over other creators. Fuck you. This is not a matter of like, well, we're not as big of a publisher, so we can't offer as big of a rate. This was like, you are late paying me. You are not paying me. It is a bitch for you to pay me. You don't pay me competitively. Things like that. Yeah. But, and that's the thing that's annoying to me.
It's, yeah, I think that like, there's a lot of like complexity and nuance to our industry. And I think that people really want like a simple 1-sentence solution or a hard list of rules to follow. And the truth is like every single person's career path is going to be different, and those rules just never work.
Well, number two is like, you have to find the solutions that work. Like there are some people that say, well, if you're a penciler, just only take penciling jobs and don't, like, that's great. But if you want to go and work in the industry proper, sometimes you'll have to take jobs that aren't great. I'm not talking about taking shitty jobs. Like, oh, the job is actually honestly that bad, like they're offering below wage or whatever. Don't take it. But it's like a lot of people that are creators now took like jobs in marketing and things like that. That's what I find stupid. It's like, I said, okay, fine. That's like when I go on a panel and I talk to people about artwork and such like that, like artists and being in the career industry. What I hate is they're like, well, I don't know why this is so prevalent, but it amazes me. And I don't know if it's us artists being neurotic as shit or something. It's like, well, I don't work on it full time. I have another job. It's like, so you're still fucking doing it. Oh, well, I have another job while I do my comic. Okay, great. You're still doing it. It's like at some point, this is going to converge here. But if you're working in the industry, people got to know you, and that takes some time.
Mm.
You know, that takes some time. That's building relationships and stuff. So that's what makes me a little bit annoyed about this whole fucking thing. It's just like, well, you know, it's just hard. It's like, well, it can be hard because A, you do have to put in effort with it, and B, you have to streamline and figure out your process.
Mm.
It's
I mean,
what works for
I,
you. That
I
would be in
get
any industry.
I get some shit from some people because like I work usually 16 to 20 hours a day on comics. Now I do this full time, and at this point I'm like largely self-published because I've walked away from most of publishing. But people kind of sort of say to me like, hey, you're kind of putting out a bad image there, like your work-life balance is unhealthy. You're encouraging people to, you know, it's all hustle culture. I'm like, it's not though. It's that I'm only happy when I'm working. Like this is the thing. This is my work-life balance. And yes, it's not for everybody. I've never claimed it was, but there's also a lot of people out there who are obsessive like me, who will feel better when they're creating, who do want to crawl out of their skin when they're having to do official relaxation. And I want those people to feel like they are being seen as well, because there is no one size fits all for how you should live your best life.
Yeah. Like the thing is that my schedule, it's not all the time, the same time every day. Cause like literally I found out I will get bored. Like my brain will start rebelling and I can't focus. Like sometimes in the morning I'll do administrative shit. And then throughout the chunks of the day, I'll work a few hours on this stuff or that stuff or whatever. It's how I feel per day. And I have freedom in my work life to do that. But then some people are just like, oh, well, because I've realized that I cannot mentally take a complete day off. I just can't. Because that's just how I am. So, but I can do this where I take a section and I break it up, or it's like I go like, okay, I can't think of this shit right now. So I don't think of this shit right now and I just do something else. It's not the best thing in the world, but I think it works for me. Sometimes I take a nap in the middle of the day. Sometimes I will fucking crash out at 9 and wake up at 1 a.m. only to crash back in, but then wake up at 5 or 6, do a bunch of fucking work, not work for a part of the chunk of the day, and then work maybe in the evening or don't. But at least for that day, I have it works for me. I get my shit done.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But anyway, guys, just really quick, we can continue this offline. But guys, thank you for showing up. It was a lunch hour, and we just talked mostly about dirty stuff. So hooray, we'll probably get flagged a lot. But at least we waited more than 20 minutes before we talked about the dirty shit. So please look at all the Kickstarters in the comments and check it out. Richard Fairgray, lovely man, as always. Travis Webb, we already said goodbye to him, and our 2 other guests have dropped off. But anyway, this is successful for the lunch hour. Please check them out. And yeah,
thanks.
Probably found a lot of blackmail shit. So anyway, see you guys later. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.